calm down. Mama, I'm fine, don't worry. Go back out to sea, sail home, sweet home, where the ships must go to get all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back. Let me silence this guy. All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay, see me okay. Welcome. It's Friday. We're doing it again. Live streaming here on Facebook and YouTube. So if you have either account, you're welcome to jump on either platform, share the video, tag a friend, tag a support group. We talk about all things special needs related. And so today we're talking about intertwining multiple different benefits and understanding certain programs here in California and how they can work together rather than against each other. And so a lot of people have, those questions of, obtaining Medi-Cal, obtaining SSI, getting into regional center, getting IHSS, right? Getting respite support, financial planning. How in the world does it all work together? Can I have this and this at the same time, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about all that stuff. So welcome once again. Let me know if you can hear me okay and see me okay. Sometimes we do have some technical difficulties. And like always, for those of you who are just now tuning in, welcome. You know the drill. Drop a comment, say hello. Let me know where you're from. You're welcome to ask a question anytime. I will try and go through the comments as best I can today. Excuse me, while also kind of jumping forth between the topic. And then I'll save some time at the end too for some Q&A as well. So if there's some questions that I missed, I will try my best to jot them down. Rosita, hello to you. Welcome. Sarah, good afternoon. How are you both doing? Let me know if there's anything in particular you want to address or discuss in regards to these programs and benefits. I'm going to turn on comments here for you all to see. We've got a good chunk of people here. A lot of people coming on YouTube. So if you're new on the YouTube side, welcome. We talk about all things special needs related. So if you live in California and you want to talk about your loved one who has special needs, you have come to the right spot. And I'm going to go ahead and throw up our topic for the day. How benefits work together without losing the support. All right. Let me see here. Hello to you. Welcome. So like I said, if you have any questions specifically in regards to today's topic, go ahead. But if you also have something going on, whether it be challenges with regional center, challenges with IHSS, or any of the benefits or programs that are out there, please let us know, and I will try to address as best I can. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into this while people are still kind of jumping on now, because there's a lot that we can go over. I will try and do my best to simplify everything. So again, take a minute if you could share the stream or tag a friend, tag a support group, anyone that is involved in the special needs world here in California. This could be helpful information for you. All right, so we'll drop into one of the biggest benefits out there as far as accessibility and understanding what it is. So SSI is something that I'd say, a lot of the people who we work with and connect with here called advocacy have to utilize. And there's a big difference between SSI and SSDI. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so if you're born with disability or early on you pertain or get a disability of some sort, and you're unable to work, you're unable to take care of yourself, or maybe you can work but very, very little, right? SSI is in place here in California, excuse me, to pay you essentially like a stipend every single month. And so I believe here in California, it's up to $1,300 or $1,400 a month. I could be wrong. Forgive me. I should have checked that number. But if you have a child who has autism, Down syndrome, or some type of disability that impacts their day-to-day living, they could potentially qualify for SSI. as early as, being, a few months born, really. It can be really difficult to get at that age, but if they are diagnosed formally with a disability or some type of diagnosis mentally, cognitively, physically, then I would pursue looking into SSI. It will be dependent on your household income when the child is under the age of 18. So if you have a 5-year-old that just got diagnosed with autism and they're experiencing a lot of challenges and difficulty in school, socially, or some of their general milestones as a kiddo, apply for SSI. Research it first, see if it aligns with the diagnosis and aligns with your financial threshold. There is a threshold you have to be under, because if you go above that threshold, then that child will not qualify for SSI at this time. They would have to wait until they're 18 so that your household income no longer affects their eligibility. But if you're under that threshold, awesome. You should be able to expect some type of SSI payment every single month. Now for SSDI, hello, Michael. Welcome. Thanks for being here. All right, so SSI stands for Supplemental Security Income. So again, this is for people who have a disability, a permanent disability, where they will automatically qualify for this if their income allows for it, okay? It can be for a minor, it can be for an adult, it does not matter. SSDI, now this is Social Security Disability Insurance, I believe is what it's referred to as. That is going to be reserved for those who have been in the workforce and have paid into disability income. So SSI is not something that I can qualify for because I'm not permanently disabled. I don't have a disability at this time. But if something were to happen and I became incapacitated, or I became severely injured where I could not do my job anymore, I have been paying into to disability for many years now, so I should have something that I can use and leverage to give me a monthly income, at least until it runs out. And so that is something that you can qualify for if you are a working individual who has paid taxes and then becomes disabled later on. Whereas SSI is for people who are either born with a disability or they have some type of permanent disability from a young age. They can qualify for that. So those are the two major differences there that I've been asked a lot over the years. And so please let me know if you are tracking that and if that makes sense. And if you have any questions on that. Terry, hello. Hello from Terry. Hello there. Welcome. So a couple of common confusing aspects of SSI and SSDI and fears that a lot of people have is if you try and apply for SSI, is that going to affect your Medi-Cal, right? Is it going to affect your IHSS? Can you work as a parent anymore, right? Can you, what do you do, right? So here's kind of the gist of things. So SSI, they don't care if the child has regional center. They don't care if the child has IHSS. What they do care is if, or they don't even technically care if the child has Medi-Cal. Because if you qualify for SSI, you will automatically qualify for Medi-Cal, full scope Medi-Cal as a child, as well as an adult. The household won't, the family won't necessarily. But if they qualify for SSI, Medi-Cal will be rolled over and they will have full scope Medi-Cal. Once you have full scope Medi-Cal, that allows for the child, in this case, to qualify for IHSS. IHSS is in-home support services. That is a financial caregiving benefit where you as the parent or you as the loved one can be paid a monthly income to not raise your child or watch your child or your loved one, but to be the caregiver for this person. And so we talk a lot about IHSS here. So if you have IHSS questions, please let me know. I'm happy to go into it. But you will not lose Medi-Cal if you apply and get approved for SSI. They go hand in hand. They're in the same bucket. They're under the same umbrella, if you will. So hopefully that provides some clarity there. Can you save money with SSI? That's another big question. So SSI technically is going to be reserved for those who do not have a very high income or a structured income on a monthly or bi-month or quarterly basis. And there is a threshold, like I mentioned. So can you technically save money? Not in the traditional sense. So if you're getting, $1,000 a month from SSI, you can't have that just go to a regular bank account and stack up over months and months and months. SSI is for the purpose of helping you sustain your standard day-to-day way of living. It's to help you pay for your bills. It's to help you, put food on your table. It's to help pay for rent if that's needed, right? So if SSI tracks that you have not been spending any of it and you've been stacking it up over in a personal, regular, accessible account, once you go above $2,000 in that account, you have I think it's 30 days to get under that $2,000 limit. And I believe it's still $2,000. Teresa, if you're watching, please help me out in the comments. I believe it's still 2,000. But if you go above that 2,000, or at least historically, then you will have a certain amount of time, which I believe it's 30 days, to get under the 2,000, or else your SSI is at risk. Now, for some people, they may go above that threshold, and then a month goes by and they haven't heard anything. Another month goes by, they haven't heard anything. They're like, oh, maybe I've squeezed by, and they continue throwing money into their bank account, and maybe 6 months, 12 months, maybe a year and a half goes by, and they haven't heard anything. And now they have $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in their bank. You will get a phone call or a letter in the mail from SSI. They will contact you and they will tell you that you're out of compliance if you are above that threshold for a long period of time. And if you've been receiving a check from them for those, however that period of time is, you may be responsible for paying it back. So that is something to take in consideration. You want to follow the rules of these programs. Just because there's silence and you haven't been corrected, if you know, and even if you don't know, unfortunately, there's a saying that they use in the court system: not knowing is not an argument. So a lot of people will commit a crime or do something by accident, and they get sued, or they have to go in front of a judge to plead their case. And if they say, I was not aware of this, I did not know that this was a crime, or I did not know that this was the rule, the judges have to balance letter of the law versus spirit of the law in a lot of ways. And a lot of times with these types of benefits, they're not going to base an assumption that you truly may not have known, because they have to protect these funds, the integrity of where these funds come from, right? And so you may be entitled to pay that back if you go too many months, too long, while being above that threshold and breaking the rules of something like SSI. So something really quick. Teresa did drop a comment here. She said, yes, it's still 2,000. Okay, thank you, Teresa. All right, and we're going to talk about maybe how you can save, because you can technically save some of this money. So we'll talk about that here in another point here pretty soon. All right, we'll go ahead and jump into Medi-Cal. So like I briefly mentioned, and again, if you have a moment to share the video, tag somebody, like or love the stream, that's super helpful for us. It's also super helpful for people who need to find out more about this information, and come see us every single Friday after this if they've never seen us before. So if you're new here, again, welcome. Galt Advocacy, talk about all things special needs here in the state of California. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Glad you're here. Drop a comment, drop a question. Happy to chat with you. All right, Medi-Cal. So like I mentioned earlier, if you can qualify for SSI, you will get Medi-Cal. Okay. And once you have Medi-Cal, you then will be eligible for Medi-Cal benefits, Medi-Cal programs such as SSI, or I'm sorry, rather IHSS. Okay. There are also waivers with Medi-Cal. So if your income does not qualify for SSI or for Medi-Cal, but you need to get Medi-Cal, one place you can start is with Regional Center. Okay. So if you have a child with special needs here in California, there's a good chance they can potentially qualify for the Regional Center in your area. You can apply for Regional Center, and if and when accepted, you can also apply for a Medi-Cal waiver. That would be used because your income as a household is too high. It's above that threshold for Medi-Cal, it's above that threshold for SSI, but you want things that come with Medi-Cal like IHSS. A Regional Center can provide a waiver to waive your household income and provide that child or that loved one Medi-Cal. They may not get SSI still, because that's still going to be dependent on your income. But Medi-Cal, the income for that can be waived so that they can get Medi-Cal. So Medi-Cal can be really important outside of like your traditional healthcare. And so another question people have is, if you already have, a primary care physician and you already have benefits through your work, do you even need Medi-Cal, right? Medi-Cal, again, you can use in many different capacities. And you can have I think it's dual coverage. I don't know the medical term for it, or the provider term for it, but you can have coverage for your child or for your loved one through your work if you already have that, as well as get them Medi-Cal. So they can have a primary coverage and a secondary. So Medi-Cal can be secondary in a sense. And so some of the benefits of Medi-Cal coverage is all copays are waived. If they have full scope Medi-Cal, copays can be waived. With Medi-Cal, they can qualify for things like IHSS, right? With Medi-Cal, they can also assist in paying for other things like therapies, ABA, and other support that maybe your insurance does not cover, or maybe regional center does not want to cover automatically, right? So there's a lot of cool things like that. They also can cover certain medical equipment if you have a child or a loved one who's, pretty medically fragile. So having Medi-Cal as a secondary, if you can get that approved, can be really helpful in that space of raising a special needs child or a special needs loved one. Terry, what's helpful with IHSS? It is not considered income for the purposes of Fed and state taxation. What's a little frustrating as SSI benefits takes into consideration the household income is used to determine the SSI person, if the person will qualify for SSI. So IHSS income, just to address taxes real quick. Mind you, I am not a tax expert. Please do not take this is advice or counsel in any way. This is just information that I can share with you to the best of my knowledge, okay? So IHSS income technically is taxable only if you are an out-of-home provider, okay? If you are a live-in provider, then you can opt out of paying those general tax, state and federal taxes, but only if you live with the recipient that you're caring for. So if you do not live with them, then the income is taxable, okay? SSI income is not technically taxable, but both of these incomes you do have to report to the IRS. So when you are doing your taxes every year, you do have to report that you're getting SSI for your child or for yourself. You do have to report whatever the IHSS income is as well. All right. 20 minutes. We're about halfway done. I think we're doing okay. Any more questions on Medi-Cal, SSI, IHSS? Because if not, we'll go ahead and just jump into savings. All right. So once again, I am not a financial expert. I'm not a tax expert. So again, take all of this information with a grain of salt. This is not counsel. This is not advice. This is just simply providing you some information that we, have gathered through our experience with our, with clients and with families over the years, as well as some personal experience. But going back to the savings element of SSI. So like I said, there's a threshold, right? So if you go above that $2,000 threshold in your bank account, your general bank account, where you can easily access, SSI will be affected, okay? It may not be affected right away. You almost hope that it should, right? After that 30-day mark, you need to be under that threshold, or else you are liable to essentially pay that back if SSI reaches out to you, which they will eventually. But there are savings buckets, if you will. A CalAble account is one of them. That is a savings account specifically created for people with special needs. So if you have a loved one with autism, Down syndrome, and whatever the disability may be, if they're born with that or they get it under the age of 26, I'm trying to remember the rules, they can qualify for this CalAble account. And so these ABLE accounts can protect some of these monies that you receive for this individual so that it doesn't impact their eligibility for it, right? So this can include the SSI income. A portion of that check can go to this CalAble account. And over the years, this can stack up because the CalAble account is similar to that of like a trust. It's not exactly like a trust because you do want a special needs trust, which we'll talk about next. But these special needs accounts are a little bit more flexible. They're a little bit more liquid in a sense. I would highly, highly, highly recommend consulting with a financial advisor who is well versed in this area. If you need some people in mind, we do have a couple of folks who are great in this area. They'd be more than happy to share with you everything you would need to know and even help you if you need that help through representation or through actual support getting these accounts set up. And so if you get SSI approved and if you have an IHSS and you're starting to get all these different programs involved, it is a really smart step to transition into the long-term aspect of caring for this person. Okay, because what happens, God forbid, something were to happen to you as the caregiver, right? How is that child or how's that loved one going to move on financially, care for themselves, right? So having that discussion with an estate planning attorney or a financial advisor of some sort, they can set these vehicles up for that person's future. Okay. One thing that's not listed in here is insurance, like life insurance and all that stuff too. That comes into play as well. Same thing with a will. So we'll transition from CalAble accounts to the special needs trust, the estate planning conversation. Okay. So if you have a child with special needs, you need to immediately, you don't have to, but I'm going to highly recommend that you look into getting a special needs trust set up. Okay. With that, adjacently, get yourself a will. It's never too early to get these things in place, even if it sounds kind of silly because maybe your child's 5 years old, right? But it's never too early, and it's good to start having this backup plan now, especially if we can assume that maybe this child's going to require support for many, many years into adulthood. A lot of times we don't know, but better safe than sorry, right? It doesn't hurt to get a special needs trust. I'll say that. And so while getting that special needs trust, you're going to get your will taken care of, right? Get that will taken care of, get your estate in order, and get the ABLE account, all of those things so that you can start using and saving this money and not be penalized for wanting to expand this person's financial support for their life, right? And then with all this too, you can also get life insurance. And most financial advisors, you don't have to go through, random Joe Schmo life insurance agencies that, call you, 30 times in a day when you submit an application. You can actually go to a financial advisor. That's typically what we recommend, is not necessarily an insurance carrier, but go to a financial advisor who can help you set that up. And because your situation, if you're caring for a child with special needs, is very different than that of somebody else who may need standard traditional life insurance options. And so there are some very specific options that can be much, I'd say, more logical or a better fit rather for when you're caring for somebody with special needs. And so all of that comes into play here. Let me see if okay, so I'm going to go back to some of these things. There is a couple of questions here. Good afternoon to you. Love that you're here. Thanks for being here. All right. So a couple of questions that I want to maybe go over real quick. Oh, thank you, Teresa. I just saw that. I don't know when you... So Cookman Law. So if you're looking for an expert in that financial planning or that long-term planning, there's kind of an all-in-one stop shop there with Ellen Cookman at Cookman Law. She's great. You guys have seen her here on Facebook several times before. If you don't follow her Facebook or her YouTube channel already, please do. She's incredible. She's been in this space for many years. She has a lot of professional and personal experience on what she's talking about. And she talks about the estate planning conversation, this part 3 here that we're going over. So she knows all of these things and knows all the people that you should connect with. So she herself is not necessarily a financial advisor, but she is an expert. Oh, and Teresa can explain here. She's an expert at setting up long-term planning and has a great YouTube channel on this particular topic, as well as many other topics. So give her a follow, give her a shout out, let her know that Galt Advocacy, that you heard of her and Cookman Law from Galt Advocacy. She's a good friend. All right. Amanda, I'm looking for an attorney that has experience with IEPs and Title IX issues. If you're able to make a recommendation. Sure thing. Call the office, Galt Advocacy. And if this is something that Galt Advocacy can help and manage, the IEP education advocates can explain. If they need to refer you to somebody specifically, then they can most certainly do that for you as well. So call the office and ask to speak with the education team. They should be able to take care of you. All right, so real quick, one of the things I wanted to quickly address is contributions to these accounts. So what happens if you receive an inheritance, right? Or your loved one receives an inheritance? Those things can take into account, and that's why. So if you're going to be setting up a special needs trust or a CalAble account, it would be very good to maybe get a couple of those family members, like grandpa and grandma, involved in those conversations. Depending on your relationship, of course, but if you know that they may have some monies left behind, where if and when they are to leave, if they're going to leave that behind for little Johnny, your child with special needs, it's best to be prepared on how to use those funds in a way so that they're not just given to you and negatively affect their benefits like SSI and Medi-Cal and all these things. So those donations, or not donations, those inheritances rather, can be used in these other vehicles like the trusts, the CalAble accounts, and all these other things. So that's why it's really good to have those conversations early on so that you can be prepared for if and when that were to happen. Same thing goes for, house, like a deed on a house, property, vehicles, all of that thing, all of those things, assets, all of that. Okay. Because if you receive these things, if they're handed over to you, that can affect these benefits. So just keep that in mind. Amanda, I called. I'm waiting to hear back from Myra. Great. Yeah, if you don't hear anything back, within the next week, call again. Michelle or Tina at the front desk would be more than happy to try and push things along for you. And thank you. Absolutely. All right, moving on. All right, work and benefits. So can you work and claim SSI at the same time, whether it be for yourself or, again, you're thinking kind of for the future for your child with special needs? The short answer is yes. So you can work a job as somebody who's disabled or somebody who has special needs and claim SSI. So there's a couple of different ways this can work, but I'll give you one way. So you can work a standard job, W-2 job, but every dollar you make will count against the SSI income. Okay. I can't remember if there's a particular percentage, but the more you make it your 9-to-5 job as an employer, as an employee, the less and less monthly amount you'll receive from SSI. If you're at zero income, that is when the SSI will be its highest. Okay. So if you choose to work while also claiming SSI, just know you are juggling a couple of things. You got to make sure that you're juggling the appropriate amount of work here so that it doesn't affect the SSI benefit. Because if you start working a little too much and it starts really chipping away at that SSI, eventually, and in some cases, some people, their SSI never truly goes away. So they may still claim $500 a month, but now they're claiming $3,000 a month from their regular job, right? That's not going to work well over many, many months, because eventually it will catch up. SSI will recognize that, and they can possibly do a chargeback on you if you're making too much and you're above that threshold, like we talked about, right? So yes, you could still work, you could still hold a job, or your loved one could still work at their job, but that's something you have to consider. Okay. There also are transitions. So like ticket to work. So some people, they'll be on SSI for many years and they start working a job and then they realize, you know what, balancing the two is really difficult. I'm at a point now in my life where I feel pretty confident in my working abilities, and maybe they want to just go all in on their work and they want to drop SSI. So you can actually do a transition. So you don't have to do it all at once if you're feeling kind of nervous. So SSI will work with you. The state of California will work with you on kind of like I forget how long it is. It's 6 months to 12 months or something like that, where you can slowly reduce the income from SSI while increasing your work capacity. And so eventually over time, it slowly goes away and your work standard job goes up. And eventually you're not relying on the SSI income anymore, and you're now relying on your income from your job. So there are ways to make that work too, if you don't feel like completely cutting off the SSI completely. Like I said before, it's very, very important to report all wages. Okay, so if you are, and again, I'm not a tax expert, I'm not a financial advisor in any way, but please seek counsel there. When you file taxes, it's important to at least let your tax expert know that you are receiving SSI or you're receiving IHSS, whether it be for yourself or for your loved one, your child, doesn't matter. You do need to report these things. Yes. Amanda, and those who, if you just do have just a question, you need answered, or maybe a couple of questions, you're more than welcome to email at info@galtadvocacy.com. Terry, curious if you have, we'll go ahead and transition, by the way, to Q&A. All right. Terry, curious, if you have an adopted child and you say you already know who you would like to take on your special needs son, daughter, is there any type of hold up in terms of requiring that person to pass certain requirements? The adoption benefit we may have received when we adopted the child, does monthly dollars move to the person the parent has named? That's a really good question. So that would be a question I would bring up to the adoption agency. That's number one. So if you are, because there's two different types of adoptions, right? There's private adoption, and then there's public adoption. I forget the term for it, but private adoption, or agency adoption rather. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So private adoption is when you keep it between family. Maybe you're adopting your grandchild, right? Something like that. Whereas an agency adoption is exactly what it sounds like. You are adopting a child that's already in the system. Maybe they've been in foster care or whatever, right? So there are rules to this. If you go agency, the agency is liable, required. They have to inform you of the dollar signs that you're insinuating here or sharing here. There is something called AAP, Adoption Assistance Program. So if you adopt a child, you are entitled, depending on the situation, to claim AAP, where you get a monthly income for this adoption. And if they have special needs, it could be a rather significant amount every single month until they are 26 years old. So if your question is in regards to, if things change in the future and you have a will, you have a backup plan, so that God forbid something were to happen to you, your cousin who's really close to this child is going to take over and adopt. Would the money transition? Technically, yes, because they're just being adopted again in a way, right? So it would be like a second adoption for this child. And then if they still qualify, if they're still under the age of 26, then that new caregiver, in a sense, that new adopter, if you will, would then claim the AAP. As far as the process of making all of that happen, that's the complex process I wouldn't be able to explain. You'd have to talk with an agency about that, or you'd have to talk with somebody who is in that space, like an adoption lawyer, or possibly even somebody like Ellen Cookman, who's in that financial realm of estate planning, like family law and things like that. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Maricello, I'm looking for an attorney to help with living trusts. The issue is all of them are high expensive. Yes, so we did drop a comment for Miss Ellen Cookman. So Marcella, if you can check out Ellen Cookman or Cookman Law, reach out to them and let them know you have questions. She is an attorney. This is a law firm, and you are right. They are expensive. I agree. Not every, but most attorneys in that space are going to have relatively significant fees. It's sort of unavoidable. There are some attorneys, some great attorneys out there who I'm sure would be happy to help. We don't have a list of resources for like free legal aid. There is that, it's called Free Legal Aid, or Disability Rights of California. That's another one where they do have free legal services, but it's usually for representation purpose when they're trying to like obtain a benefit. So could they help with something like this? It's very possible. It doesn't hurt to reach out. But you'd want to look up like Free Legal Aid of California, Disability Rights of California. They may be able to point you in the right direction. Otherwise, I would find a trusted advisor in your area, budget and plan for it, and that would be the best route. That would be my recommendation. Lori, I have a question. I just started the process for my 18-year-old son to get SSI. We had the review barely this February, but I haven't heard from Social Security. And then you said, what would be the next step in regards to SSI? Follow-up, I'd say. It can be lengthy. Let me know in the comments here, anybody, if you've gone through the SSI process recently or within the last year. How long did that take? Because I know traditionally it's anywhere between like 1 to 6 months. So I think most of the time it's going to be more in that 3-month range, that 90-day period, but things could be different right now. I'm not too sure. If it's February, you're really pushing that. I would probably reach out to SSI. I know, unfortunately, you have to kind of treat it like the DMV, right? Long hold times, and it's annoying. You got to go through all the prompts, but I would carve out maybe some time on the weekend, or not even the weekend. I think they're closed usually. Maybe carve out some time early in the morning if you can, to try and follow up and see the status of the application or the assessment. And if you really don't hear anything back, if you feel like they've just dropped the ball completely, you can always hire an SSI attorney. So SSI attorneys, they work contingency usually, so they're not going to charge you anything. What they do is they jump on your case, they help push it through, and then however long it's taken, if it's taken a year, then you're going to get a year's worth of back pay. And then what the lawyer will do is the lawyer will charge you like a percentage of that back pay. So we are not SSI. Adult advocacy is not SSI or disability advocates in any way. So you'd have to retain a lawyer who's certified or specified in that field. And there's plenty. If you just Google in your area, there will be lots that pop up. Just do your research on references and referrals, reviews, all that jazz, and you should be able to find somebody who could take care of you. We do have some recommendations for conservatorships. You, of course, do not have to hire a lawyer or an attorney to do it, but it is highly recommended. Okay. So I'm sorry, real quick. So if you want those referrals, go ahead and email info@galtadvocacy, and somebody from the office can email you a few different names of some firms you can reach out to. Teresa also said you can use LDA. I'm not familiar with LDA. What is that? Or Legal Aid for a Living Trust. Amazing. So I forget who asked about that earlier, but if you're looking for some trust information, hopefully for free, or legal aid, usually that's what that refers to. They might be able to take care of you. Oh, I think it was Marcella. I think that was you, right? Let me know. I forget. Sorry. Ned, do you have suggestions or recommendations for specialist planning or trust agencies? Yes, we do. And that would be Miss Ellen Cookman. Let me pull up her website again. So Ellen Cookman is an expert in the long-term planning. So that also includes living or, trusts, special needs trusts, special needs accounts, and all that stuff. She works very closely with financial advisors who are like specialists in that field, specifically for people with disabilities and children with disabilities and special needs. So Ellen is great. We've worked with her for many years now. And here is her website. Lori said, thank you. Oh, I understand. It's too bad. You guys are great. Thank you. You're great. But there are some great folks out there who specialize in all of these different fields that I'm sure you'll be able to find no problem. LDA is legal document assistant, basically a paralegal who handles documents. Nice. I gotta look that up. I'm not familiar with that. Interesting. So Sharon said, I did my personal living trust online and printed it out and then took it and had it notarized. Sweet. I'm glad that worked out for you. I've heard that can be a very daunting process. I don't know too many people that have actually done it themselves. So thanks for sharing. That's great. I'm glad it worked out for you, Sharon. Ooh, okay. Teresa, we will be having Ellen on our live next month. Don't miss it. Don't miss it, everybody. So if you have questions about living trusts, special needs trusts, Calable accounts, long-term planning, all of the things that we kind of ended our live today with, join us next month. I don't know which week it's going to be. I'll have to check the calendar. But if you're interested in having that conversation, Ellen will be joining us. Thank you. Teresa, any upcoming events for the rest of the year? We are out of comments. Outline is about done for the day. So I don't have any other points to bring up. I'm going to go back and see if I missed anybody. Relatively small crowd today, but thanks for being here, everyone. Made it easy for me. I don't think I missed any comments. Nice. All right. Well, again, before you guys go today, we have a couple more minutes. So we'll answer any last minute questions. But again, before you go, please feel free to share the stream. These get saved to our page for a little while before they leave. Feel free to tag a friend, tag a support group, tag yourself if you need to come back and watch this later. But that helps push these streams out and these videos to people who need this information. Teresa said, no events right now because we're buried. All right, fair enough. Terry, have you ever had discussion about a parent being concerned about getting pregnant or becoming the father of a child and your child has a very strong intellectual disability? That is a very tough conversation, and the answer is yes. That is something that that we've discussed a lot over the years with many different people. And so it's really important. Something we kind of touched on for a minute, and it might have been you, Terry, I can't remember, is conservatorships. So limited conservatorships can be really important with this part of the conversation, because it is a fear that a lot of people have. And if you fear that your child or your loved one cognitively is not, they don't have the capacity to understand the significance or the ramifications of being involved with someone, maybe they don't understand the weight of what it would cost them to get pregnant. Maybe that's just not a process they understand. Then it could be really helpful to get a conservatorship in place over them, where that power, that right that they have to date and to be intimate with somebody, that can be removed. Not meaning that they can't ever like fall in love with somebody or date or even get married, but it does mean that you now have the option of choosing what's best for them in that department, right? So an example of this is, I have a sister, Molly. Molly has Down syndrome. She's also intellectually disabled, and cognitively, she's around, I'd say developmentally, age 5, maybe 6 on a good day. And she does not have the capacity to understand what real, falling in love with somebody is, or that physical, intimate part of a relationship when getting, married and having a baby. These are not conversations she understands, but she understands having a crush, right? She understands liking somebody. Those are normal human feelings, right? So she feels those things, but she doesn't understand how to process and act on those feelings like a fully developed neurotypical adult would, right? So because of that, Molly has been approached by people, and it can be scary because Molly will entertain anybody as her friend. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand friend or foe. She doesn't understand stranger danger. So there have been boys in her class or young men in her group adult day classes that have approached her in that way. And my parents, who are her conservators, they have a conservatorship over her. They're able to manage that relationship or those relationships the same way you would as if your child was interested in somebody, right? Or like a young, teenager is wanting a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? You have a say in that until they're 18. And so a conservatorship allows for some of that power so that this person can be protected. Super long-winded answer. Let me go back to your question, actually make sure I'm answering it. So if you're asking more genetically, like if you're worried about them becoming the father of a child or the mother of a child, that's a conversation I'd have with the doctor. If you feel like that's something that your loved one maybe wants to do, they want to have a baby and they have autism. The one thing we know about autism and intellectual disabilities, we don't necessarily know all of the causes or reasons. That's a tricky part. But with a lot of these intellectual disabilities or cognitive impairments, the one common thing that we have that we do know is it's hereditary in some capacity. So if there is a gene there, then it is important to probably have those conversations with the doctor. But if you're worried more on the ethics of it all, then I'd probably consult with an attorney in regards to a conservatorship if you're worried about that being intimate with somebody due to that lack of understanding. So that's the other part that I thought for some reason you were referencing, but maybe I misunderstood. Hopefully that answers your question. Sorry if I rambled on forever. All right, everybody, that's about it. I haven't seen any more comments come through or questions. We're just about out of time. So if you speak Spanish, join Nicole at 1 o'clock in Spanish. Terry, you said, what about summer camps? Any coming up? So not with Galt Advocacy. Are you referring to like adult day camps for summer? Because those happen every summer across the state. There's lots of them. You can connect with your local regional center about that. Good, I'm glad. Thanks for being here. You've had some awesome questions. All of you had. All right, everybody, I'm going to hop off, but I'm so glad that you joined. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here. Like always, stay in touch. If you have questions, you're welcome to message Teresa here on Facebook or email Galt Advocacy at info@galtadvocacy.com. If you're looking for help with IHSS or education, like IEP support, or maybe questions about regional center, or maybe you have questions about SSI and Medi-Cal, send Galt Advocacy a message, give the office a call, get on someone's calendar. They'd be happy to chat with you. And let's see what else here. Oh yeah, if you speak Spanish, join Nicole at 1 o'clock in Spanish, where she's going to be going over all the same information. If you have a friend who maybe couldn't join today because of that language barrier, but they would like to join in Spanish, follow our Spanish page here on Facebook or on YouTube and join at 1 o'clock. Oh, Barbara, she mentioned Camp Kern, Christian Births Camp. Nice. Hopefully, Terry, that aligns with maybe where you live and if that works out for you. All right, everybody. Thank you again for being here, like you always are, asking great questions. Don't forget to like and share this stream if you can. Tag a friend, tag a support group. That goes a long ways. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. I hope you all enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.